Hey guys, I'm Tony, worship pastor at our Cookville campus at Life Church, and just wanted to talk to you about worship guitar swells. It's something that can definitely be overused. Most of the time, it's underutilized. Not saying that a worship guitar should play constantly, but when there's space to fill, this is always a great time to do it. This is a good transition type guitar tone. This is really good for filling space and moments. We'll go over a few things like that, but let's go ahead and dive right in. So let's talk about the foundations of worship guitar swells. Essentially, whether you're overdriven or not, the essence of it is going to be reverb and delay. Me personally, I like to put my reverb before my delay, and that way anything that is spit out of my reverb is then delayed and has a much longer tail. So I'm on my Jazz Master today. It's got P90 pickups, and I'm on my neck pickup right now. This is what my clean tone sounds like. I'm just doing a simple C, F, A minor, G type progression, and we're going to use that as the foundation for everything that we're doing today. Whether it be in the key of C, G, A, whatever, doesn't really matter. All this will apply, and I'm going to show you some tricks that might help you out just a little bit. But now let's talk about, now that we've got the foundation of our clean tone, it sounds good and clean, not too bright, not too dark. Let's get over to what our swell actually sounds like. Now what you can hear there is you hear the clean signal, but you hear a lot of reverb and delay. And that's intentional because I want to be able to distinguish, especially if I'm in a moment where I'm, say playing behind a pastor, or maybe there's a ministry moment that's happening. I want my guitar tone to come through, but I want the most noticeable thing to be the reverb and delay. That way when I get super ambient, it's not in the way. You're not hearing me actually change a bunch of chords and stuff like that. It just sounds more like a pad, in all honesty. So let's talk about how we set that up. Now, you're not going to want to go absolutely massive where the tail is 10 seconds long, because in transitional moments, maybe that's too much. You don't want to, land on C in a song, and then you're swapping to the key of A and your C is still kind of lingering there in the background. So a moderate tail of maybe 5 or 6 seconds and not too long of like a decay will probably suit your needs. So let's talk about how we set that up. So this is my clean tone again. I'm going to kick on my reverb first. Now I'm using my Kemper today, but this applies to any board that you have. If you have a traditional pedal board, whether this be a Helix or a Stomp or whatever you've got, every single thing we're going to talk about today applies. What really matters is the settings. And so I've just engaged my reverb onto my clean tone, and that's it. I'm not going to swell it in. I'm just going to see what it sounds like. You hear that little bum-bum. That's the reverb starting to engage. Now let's talk about delay. I'm going to show you my delay only. I'm going to turn the reverb off, actually. Here's the delay only. Just a little quarter note delay. But when I blend the two together, now this is not swelling. It's got a pretty decent little tail. Now this is me swelling it in. So I'm going to add a little gain stage at the front of that now. This is me kicking on an overdrive, same settings. If I wanted to go even bigger than that, this is now that overdrive you just heard with another gain stage on top of that. This is almost too big, to be honest with you, but it is kind of fun to play sometimes. So that's going to be the foundations of how we swell in worship. It's useful, again, for prayer moments, if there's a transition between songs, if there's something that you need to do as a rhythm guitarist to fill. Those are very applicable situations that I would use swelling in, and I use them all the time. And it fills a lot of space. It gives this feeling to the music that people may not even notice, but when it's not there, they do notice. Man, something sounded different today. Not really sure why. Honestly, I believe a lot of the time it has to do with how you as a rhythm guitarist are filling in worship. So the last thing I want to talk about today is some tips and tricks when you don't know what to do. Like say you're a new worship guitarist. You're not really sure how to do, you're getting the swell thing under the belt for the first time, and you're not really sure what to do. You don't want to necessarily stick to just traditional chords. And those fill a lot of space. I would actually generally tend to go to those if I'm the only guitarist and I've got a band with me, but we're in a prayer moment or a transition moment, and I'm not really sure what to do. I need to fill space, right? And so I'll go with chords. But you don't always have to do that. You can invert those chords and find a few different sound palettes, so to speak, where you can actually fit in the mix a little bit better, especially if you have another guitarist who's kind of doing the same thing. So let me show you what I mean. So let's talk about the key of G, all right? So we've got, let me turn my effects off here. So we've got the key of G, right? Standard G chord. Well, there's a few different ways that we can play that chord. Here's one. Here's another. This is a power chord. Here is that same chord without the root. Here is that chord in an octave. Then here is one of my favorites. This is a D shape of that same chord. So this is how I find that. And this will apply anywhere on the fretboard, especially if we're talking about like G and A and so on. G, my finger right here is on the 3rd fret, just like you would play a normal G chord. If I leave that same position here, I just swap it to my index finger, make my power chord. Down here on my D string, if that is now my new starting point, well, and when we're talking about the D shape at the end, I've already got my 2 finger positions for my D shape. So again, it starts with normal G, power chord G, octave G based off of where my pinky was, and then now based off of where my ring finger and my pinky are, it is now my D shape. I can use those when I'm swelling. Say I am doing G right here, right? And then C. Or if I want to do that octave. Now my D shape. So that is the foundation for swelling in a worship guitar context. I'd love to talk to you about it if you have any questions. If you need help setting up your gear, I'd love to talk to you about it. You can always reach out to me at any time, Tony@livelife.church. See you soon.